Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming out on such a beautiful Saturday morning. We're going to move for the approval of our agenda. Do I have a second? All in favor? Any opposed or abstentions? Agenda has been approved. We're going to move for the approval of the minutes from the April 26th regular meeting. Do I have a second? All in favor? Any abstentions or, okay, April 26th meeting minutes are approved. May 2nd special meeting. Do I have a second to accept those minutes? All in favor? No opposed or abstentions. May 2nd meeting minutes are approved. President's remarks. Folks, we had a huge win for Ocean Pines. Thanks to a unified grassroots effort led by Commissioner Bertino, Commissioner Bunting, and your Ocean Pines Board of Directors, we successfully pushed back against an unfair and burdensome proposal. Together, we made our voices heard loud and clear. At the Worcester County budget hearing on May 6th, it was officially announced that the county will no longer consider option 3, a water and sewer rate that would have unfairly forced all ratepayers in all service areas to equally absorb the debt incurred by only a few. This victory means that Ocean Pines service area ratepayers, along with the others who did not contribute to this debt, will not be held responsible for paying it off. This is not just a win for Ocean Pines. It's a win for fairness and common sense across Worcester County. But let me be clear, while the battle is won, the war is far from over. The county is still facing an over $6 million debt, and there's every indication that they'll attempt to shift that burden to us in the 26 budget cycle. We must remain vigilant, we must stay united, and we must continue to advocate for fair, transparent, and responsible fiscal policies. Thank you to everyone who made their voices heard. Together. We are stronger, and we're just getting started. On another note, I want to mention that this past Saturday, Ocean Pines came alive with energy, community spirit, and a strong sense of togetherness during our incredibly successful Ocean Pines Day. I want to give a special thank you to the hard work of Gary Miller and Linda Yurchi for their tireless efforts to bring this event to life. I also want to recognize the efforts of our staff, our volunteers, our vendors, our club leaders. This year's event was bigger and better than before. In fact, it's grown so much that we needed to move it to the Veterans Memorial Park to accommodate everybody. And even then, vendor tables were sold out. Clubs, organizations, and businesses from across our community showed up in full force to showcase what they have to offer, from recreation and service groups to arts, crafts, and everything in between. There's literally, truly something for everybody. Ocean Pines Day is more than just an event. It's a reflection of the vibrant, active, and diverse community we are proud to call home. Thank you to everyone who made it such a remarkable day. Moving on, we're going to start with our GM report. John.
Thank you, Stuart. Good morning, Ocean Pines. Before I start, Chief Robinson is here. He has a couple of things that he wants to talk to us about. Chief. Oh, see, sister, don't go.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Chief.
So, it's a beautiful morning again here on Ocean Pines. So, I want to talk a little bit about some traffic safety. Go to the next one. A couple of things I want to share with you. Some data that we have here. And I guess I went through and looked at all the accidents that were actually handled by the Ocean Pines Police Department that that were reportable. We had to write an accident report on. Just back to 2022, when you saw 38, 23, we had 23, 30, 33 reportable accidents, 24, and 11 to date in this year. PI stands for personal injury, PD stands for property damage, and F stands for, unfortunately, fatal. But I want to show you some other data too, to put those numbers in an interesting perspective. we have our radar counter that we can put out there. And not only does it display speed, as you see when people are driving along, it also gives us a report of the average speeds, but also gives us a report of how many vehicles are driving on Ocean Parkway. And some of these numbers are mind-boggling. If you saw up there, I just put two examples. One from the fall of last year, where we did it up in the 100 block of Ocean Parkway, and then one in the spring where we did it further south around Camelot. Look at those numbers. I average of 2,300 per day in one spot and an average of 1,600 per day in the other spot. And that's just raw math, just dividing it by how many days we had it up there. So there obviously could be some variations between days of the week. But when you look at how few reportable accidents that we actually do have compared to how many vehicles are traveling, and not all of those accidents are actually handled on Ocean Parkway. Many of them were elsewhere. And if you flip the page, please. I want to talk about some safety enhancements that we have been doing. We're talking about what we have done already. We put up some new signage and some crosswalks. What you'll see in that bottom picture, we did that on the south side. There are pictures. There's some signs up on both on the northern part of Ocean Parkway and the southern part of Ocean Parkway, informing you of curves. We have assisted the Worcester Bike and Pedestrian Coalition with a grant to get some safety devices, warning lights for bicycles and walkers. We are considering putting in some additional crosswalks. We have updated the crosswalk at Ocean Parkway at Cathell, and we have a project that's currently ongoing looking at making repairs some of the worst areas on the shoulder. We have some other issues that we're going to be looking at. We're considering additional crosswalks, additional safety measures. We're going to be doing targeted speed enforcement. We're going to be working with some of our community groups to do some education and reminding cyclists that, you got to have a light at night. We are occasionally taking enforcement action on that. When we have the opportunity, you are required to have a light on your bike at nighttime. And we are looking at new signage, additional signage to remind folks of bicycles in the roadway, that bicycles should share the road. Vehicles and bicycles have just as much right to both be in the roadway. And that leads me to talk about bicycle safety. We have had, I think, going back to 2020, we've had 5 reportable accidents involving a vehicle and a bicycle. And out of those 5 reportable accidents, 4 of those, the cyclist was actually at fault. So while we do have folks that are riding bicycles, it is not, and it could potentially, anything bad can happen anywhere as we know it. We just don't have a history of it happening. Next slide, please. Because we get a lot of questions about putting a bike lane here in Ocean Pines, and we looked at it, we considered it, we thought about it, and while we knew we did not have the adequate room to do it, we considered some ideas. Well, can we do something? Can we do something for education purposes? Once we really dived into it and looked at it, we realized that once we started doing that, we're actually doing a retrofit to the existing shoulder and turning that into a bike lane, and that's just not going to be feasible. So with what we've spoken to with legal advice and also dealing with folks at State Highway that I talked to, doing something like that is not feasible. It's actually not safe, and it could make the situation worse in our existing situation, because you are required to have, if you want to have a bike lane, you are required to have a minimum of 4 feet, and that's just not possible in our existing shoulder, because our existing shoulders at a lot of places are only 2 feet, and at the most they're 3 feet wide, and we just could not comply with the state requirements and guidelines to both maintain them and keep them up. Is there another? Oh, I think that's it. Okay, I've been asked to speak about cell towers, and somebody asked about it. So we are working with Milestone Communications. They have been very instrumental. They are the same company that did some stuff in Salisbury. The point we're at right now is we are looking at, locations here that are Ocean Pines property. They are studying these locations. And I'm waiting for the official proposal that this is where we want to build on this piece of property. And the procedure was going to do is we're not doing anything where we're going to do anything in secret. When it comes out, we will be coming back here to release, or with them. And they're going to probably, they were willing to do a proposal, or not do a proposal, but do answer any questions that anybody has about where this will be and, what the benefits are and everything. And I have very much stressed to them that whatever we do, we want to make sure it stays in line with making sure that Ocean Pines stays as, as beautiful as possible. So, unless anybody has
Thank you,
any
Chief.
questions, that's it.
Anybody have any questions for Chief? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. So bike lane not feasible. All right, so let's go. We have an agenda for today. We have initiatives. Turn the page, please. Linda will be also updating everybody along with Justin. Justin will talk to everybody about the irrigation. In addition to this, what I will highlight today, and which ties into everything with the firehouse, our DMA study, our financials, our assessment, is I want to try to bring it all together for everybody because a lot's going to happen this next year, and show you how we have been positioning for this for a couple of years, and why I continue to say we have a Goldilocks situation when it comes to our reserves for funding for this very important firehouse, and the continuation of our assessment. And I want to talk a little bit about our retained earnings, which has grown favorable. All right, let's start off with we got a lot of important stuff today. Firehouse. I know we got a couple of dignitaries in the back. So we've done a lot on this the last year and a half. It's been a total team effort with the fire department. So where were we? Well, we reevaluated an initial proposal, which was somewhere around 19,000 square feet. It's now somewhere around 15,000. We did set up a new work group with the volunteer fire department. I have to say it's been very professional and very constructive. It's been good. We fine-tuned the interior costs, safety and NFPA requirements, transition costs, developed sketches to be utilized by the architect, which are right here. We completed the pre-planning stage. I was hoping to have the architectural plans today. The architect, there was some kind of medical situation. We hope to have them next week. We do need those final plans, or at least the next step, in order for the fire department and everybody to look at them. There could be possible changes with that, all part of the process, but we're just a couple of weeks late. But it does not deter me from coming forward today with what we need. Turn the page. Where are we today? Well, I pretty much said we're going to present a motion. I am going to submit to the board the recommendation from the team, from us to the board for a motion on this. And then I guess the board will second it and we'll discuss. The architectural drawings, as I mentioned, and the May funding, I will deliver options to the board today with a recommendation. Approval to move forward from the board. Hopefully I get that today. And how much money, ballpark, to go forward with referendum in June. So I will be prepared to discuss that today. Next steps, well, assuming we get approval and the referendum, we go forward. Bids and award, timeline, project plan, shovel in the ground is still estimated sometime in October. Completion estimate is 65 weeks. All right, so this is where I'm going to start today to tie everything together, because there is a lot of parts. So at this point today, I'm recommending to the board, we fund our portion of the firehouse estimate out of general reserves. Obviously, there's other options. We could borrow from several different places. We can build it into the assessment. Now, I'm not saying over time there may be an effect on the assessment. I'll talk more about that later and answer any questions, but there won't be something highlighting specifically. And obviously that is an option and we can discuss that. But I am talking about funding it through the general reserve. We're managing our reserve balance in compliance with the DMA Light Study of 2021, which reflects a balance in the vicinity of 22 to 24% of fully funded. We have been on track with that, if not a little above that. But the main thing is we're in compliance with the outside independent study, which now, through law and regulation, we have to be. Since the funding of the building will not start until after October 2025, and the DMA study is now scheduled for August, September. I spoke to Doug Green at DMA. We've decided to change it so that everything comes together for us at the end of the year. So this is an important tool. It's an important process. And our reserve funding will be evaluated and decided at that time. So again, I've mentioned we have a Goldilocks situation, which means everything's good, I believe. But we need that evaluation. Now, that evaluation is either going to tell us we're right on target with our funding reserves. It may say we need more, might even say we need less. But we need to go through that process. But what I'm telling everybody today, and I'm recommending to the board, and obviously it's up to the board, is that I'm recommending that this very important initiative to fund this building come through our general reserves. I have updated this board and the association over the last several months, and I'm stating today, and I've said this already, that I believe we have a Goldilocks situation. All right, so that ties into where we are with our assessment. And by the way, this would be a good point to say it. When you look at the assessment today at 875, last year it was 850, but the last time the assessment was lower than 875 was 2013. And think about everything we've done, what this association has done, what the boards have done, your team, but everybody. We've increased funding for safety. Safety now is 42% of our assessment based upon back in 2013, it was probably 20%. So even though our assessment has come down, we have funded so much more, which is the right thing to do. And we will fund this firehouse, hopefully, still with a lower assessment. Our retained earnings are strong, but we're going to need them. And I will, and especially after I get the DMA study back, I will present that to the board for recommendations, how that fits into everything I have planned over the next couple of years. All right, so there was a lot there on that slide. Turn the page, a lot. All right, Racket Sports Building. There it is, bottom right corner. Basically, we started off with a renovation. The need was restrooms, and I have to say, we did accomplish that. The restrooms, I'm getting a lot of positive feedback on that. We did have to do more than we initially, once we opened the walls and saw what was there, it was clear that we needed to basically do a new building, which the board approved and this association has paid for, and that is one solid building down there. Go down and see it. So the cost right now, I still have a couple bills coming in. We're going to say it's in that ballpark, 275, 300, but it's a new building. Turn the page. Bocce ball courts. We're all excited about this. I know there's a lot of excitement. We have over 100 people signed up. Some people are on the waiting list, and we didn't even get the courts built yet. Southwest Greens, Delaware Valley began installing courts on May 19. There was a weather situation, but hopefully in the next week or two it'll be completed. The total cost is somewhere around $52,000. The league start in June. Kickoff meetings have already been held. Compliments to Mike Galileo. I don't know if he's here. He has done so much work on this, really constructive, professional work. And I know there's a lot of people excited about it. So we're going to have two courts. They're going to be kind of professional, and they'll tie in with the yacht club and the pool. So I'm excited about that. New initiative here, new amenity. Irrigation. All right, if you don't want to hear from me, Justin is here, and Justin's going to take you through it.
Yeah, so we have completed phase one of the irrigation renovation. Everything has gone really well. We have one final walkthrough this week with the contractor. We're going to test every single head that was installed, walk through every area that they were in to get the final kind of check, make sure everything is good before we move on to phase two planning. But yeah, the contractor has been great to work with. Everything is like spaced properly. I think the design is fantastic. We're going to, I think, see a lot of efficiency with the water usage. And just better quality. So, I mean, obviously the quality is important from my standpoint. We want to make the course as nice as possible. But I believe we're going to have quite a water savings also. So I'll be tracking that heavily because everything is running as it should and properly, which is very exciting. So yeah, we're ready to just move on and get ready to start planning for phase two.
Justin, I have a question, and then I'm going to have Jeff his question. What is do we know what the anticipated lifespan of this new system is?
So we do. So one of the things we had to do with the whole DMA study and we're working on. So there's many, many components, and I'll let Justin get into the detail. There are many components, but the lifespan that we're looking at could be anywhere on the components from 50 to 75 years. The main pipe, we are being told easily 75 years. Now, obviously, all the different irrigation, sprinkler heads and all that would be different. But what I'm estimating with Mark is that the depreciation, I think that's where you want to go with this question.
Yes.
Is going to be somewhere between $55,000 when we're done. So that would be an additional charge, and you're right, Stuart. So that would be an additional charge in our DMA study. We have also looked at the pricing for the golf course and everything else. And as of today, and we're not even there yet, I believe the golf course will still be able to cover it. But good question.
Okay, thank you, John.
Yep.
Jeff?
Thanks, Stuart. Justin, is there any aha moments or learnings from phase one that can be incorporated into phase two?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, anytime you tackle a project like this, I think you always do learn a few things. And I believe it's going to be even more efficient moving forward after the first phase. At the first phase, we also incorporated the pump station, which was a massive undertaking for that project as well. So we had a lot more going on in phase one than we will with the future phases for the system. So yeah, obviously we've learned a lot, and I think it's going to be pretty efficient moving forward.
Anybody else have any questions? I have one more comment I want to make to John and Justin. So our base assessment at 875, our safety taking of almost half of what our assessment costs are, we're still able to fund our irrigation. The conditions at this golf course are unbelievable if you've been there. The other thing is the golf course, seriously, is the economic engine that keeps our assessments low. The investment in that critical infrastructure is what's continuing to make it affordable for us to live here. John?
So yes, and I'll take it, Joe. So we will be, it might as well be the place now to say the golf course will be in the black this year after depreciation. So, and I believe we will be also in the black. And again, I'm talking down the road a couple of years, even after this irrigation system. And I know Justin is going to have efficiencies there and everything. He talked about water, so there's even efficiencies. So yes. Want to add anything, Justin?
Yeah, no, we are certainly doing our best and taking advantage of obviously new technology to be as efficient as possible and save anywhere we can. Yeah, because not only is our water usage, I think, going to improve, but being able to put water out consistently and evenly across the property actually will make the chemical and fungicide program operate better and more consistently, which should also help some savings there as well. So I think we're going to see it across the operation as a whole as we move through the project.
Thank you, Justin. John, you had a question?
The timeline, I know we moved phase two up, which made absolute great sense to keep that project going. Is there a timeline and then kind of the next step after, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but
Yeah.
kind of the next phase?
Yeah, so no, it's moving quick just because we need to have advanced planning to get materials and everything.
Right.
But we are looking to continue these projects in the off season. So it'll be, possibly starting early in October if they can, but like it's pretty much a winter project every year. Mhm.
John, it'll probably be the same approach you just saw over the last year. We anticipate that. We are trying to get to certain fairways where we do have problems, and the quicker we get there, the quicker we'll take care of those emergencies. Yeah, and Justin's all over it. The other thing is on the water, we are looking at right out here with this pond and working with Justin and Nobi so that we can get more water into that pond, so that Justin not only has the efficiencies with this system for using less water, as he pointed out, we'll also have more water, so we would be taking less from the aquifer.
Can I just
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
as to the pond on, what is this, 18 over here? Because the fairway and the green slopes to the pond, the water, too much water falls back onto the fairway.
Got this.
I mean, I can put the ball in the water pretty easily, but I actually put it on the fairway and ended up in the water. So I have no problem with more water, but maybe we need a higher wall or something.
So, and you're making my job easy here, Steve, yes, and yes, so we are looking at that. We are going to replace and fix that wall. You're right, the water is coming over, it's going onto the grass. I'm going to be coming forward to the board with that, and that'll be part of the way we're going to increase water. We're also going to look at that fairway. We have the plans. Justin has them. We have pictures of what that fairway looked like 30, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, and we want to put it back that way. So you might have a couple more feet of fairway. Could help you. Yeah, we want to put it back where it was.
Yes, Elaine?
I have a question, because something you just mentioned, and I had really not thought of it before, is I know with the aquifer that we're tied into, do we know how much percentage the golf course uses of the water? Because I know we're bumping up against having to put in a new well. Will this help?
So this is going to help Big Town, and I'm going to let Justin talk more about it. We have a situation when it's dry out there and there isn't any rain. This will help because obviously we'll have more of a reservoir to pull the water from, plus the efficiency of well, I'll let Justin talk about the efficiency of the system. But yeah, this will definitely help.
Yeah, so we are, I think, going to see some efficiencies. I've been looking at some water usage and things that we're going through, and I think there's an immediate impact with the new pump station, new pipes in the ground. Looking back, tracking last year, March, April, May, we had about probably 14 inches of rain. So far, tracking this year, we're at about 12 inches of rain. So we're actually slightly less than last year, and our water usage is drastically down. As far as total irrigation I've applied at this point this season, we've used only about 600,000 gallons compared to last year. I think we were pretty dry, used, about 3 million in irrigation at this point. But we have used zero water from the aquifer to this point to date this year.
So I just want to add on that, and Justin will be the first one to tell you, once we get that main pipe in there and everything else, the amount of breakdowns where there was leakage, some flooding sometimes on court, that'll all stop and that'll be savings on water. Justin has pointed that out, and all savings. That is part of the intent that we really don't talk about with this, is the amount of water savings that Justin's pointing out to us.
Now, I guess the savings, is that coming from the aquifer that we were getting the water for the course before? I'm just wondering, because I know we're at kind of that level.
So
And so if it goes
Yeah.
down, will
Right.
we maybe not have to put in that new well?
that new,
I don't know if one ties into the other based upon the usage on the course.
Yeah.
The aquifer, the well is just a supplement. So a majority of our water usage is rainwater and drainage collection from
Okay.
Ocean Pines to keep the ponds up. And so with the efficiency in the new system, that rainwater is going a long way for us
Okay.
compared to what it was in the past.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, let's continue. Safety, Linda.
Okay, John was recently presented a safety award for Ocean Pines Association in honor of outstanding commitment to workplace safety. 5 consecutive years, maintained a loss ratio of 23.59%. This is given by the insurance company in March. So good job, John.
Team effort, big time team effort. Everybody, we start off every staff meeting with talking about safety. And look, it's a team effort. My main direct reports who, we talk about the economic engine, golf and all that, and there'll be other economic pieces to that, but the drivers are all our direct reports. To be a direct report, to be part of this, you got to be a driver as opposed to somebody coming along for the ride. And we certainly have a team like that, and a constructive professional boards, and then of course the people of Ocean Pines. So many people on that. Thank you. Third page.
Okay, landscaping. I know people have noticed, landscaping public works has been busy. We had more palm trees put in the north gate. But we have done yacht club, beach club, and around the Ocean Pines. Dog park gazebo. I know this has been requested, I guess, like a year ago. The gazebo, we are going to get the permits. We have checked with the Jack Levering on the gazebo. He's fine with it, so we will be placing that. It holds approximately 12 to 15 people. He requested to put it on the small dog park side. Approximate cost is going to be $6,000 and estimated delivery in 6 to 8 weeks from Woodland Sheds. Gym floor, if anyone wants to stop by, you can't walk on it yet, but you can look through. Gym floor was completed by Dynamic Sports Construction. Total cost 62,300. So it does have to cure for a week, but please do stop by and just take a look because it's quite impressive. Strategic plan. I know there was a question on, do we have a strategic plan? So if you go into the website under departments, general manager, we have the strategic plan. It has the general manager's strategic plan by department. And then we actually updated the drainage. So this is not something we sit on the shelf. It's a fluid plan and we update it regularly. CPI violation dashboard, we had 141 violations in April. 314 were closed out, leaving a total of 355. Someone said that we had 1,000 violations. We have two and a half inspectors. That would be impossible to do 1,000 violations in 1 month. But we have, like I said, closed out 314. Majority still open in maintenance, trash and debris. I did separate this out to leaf maintenance. So we do have a few open for leaf maintenance, but we have a lot that have complied out. So we do have 92 of the 355 are still open and legal. Work orders, 134 new work orders, leaving a balance of 144. People are coming back in town. We have 92 still open in drainage. So they're coming back and seeing that there's drainage issues. So, but we do have complied out 110 over April. And customer service, 90 emails, phone calls. If you have any questions, email info@oceanpines.org.
Thank you, Linda. Financials. All right, so we just start. So the controllers report was issued. Mark Swift, our assistant controller, issued it last night, went to the board. It's on the website if anybody's looking for it. I know a lot of people look for it right away. Credit to Mark. You know, I've talked about with my direct reports, they have to have number twos, strong number twos. Total credit to Steve Phillips, our controller. Mark has been a welcome addition to this team, not just for finance. And I just want to, along with everybody else, how we got this all out. So credit to Mark and everybody else. All right, so let's talk about the numbers, right? So for the month of April, you go down to the bottom right corner. We've all been trained to do that, especially me, favorable. And again, I'm talking about favorability, unfavorability. I'm not necessarily saying profit, but we are favorable $71,000 to budget for our month of April. Now, with April, and we take a little more time with April, because we have to close the books with the auditors, which will probably be somewhere in July. But we have been pretty on track with our estimates or flash for April. So 71,000 favorable to the budget. What I like to see up there is when it's on the revenue line, that the favorability is on revenue. I know we're growing in the right areas. And of course, we always have efficiencies with expenses. Turn the page. All right, so let's see where that 71,000 came from. Let's go. I've been trained to go to golf. We heard about the economic engine. Golf, $30,000 favorable on a budget which was increased from the budget the prior year. So a lot of that too, we talk about a lower assessment or whatever. Everybody budgets more than the prior year, pretty much. I mean, I think there was one that did not. The administration, we had favorability there in our premiums, a lot of work by Steve, but the total team with the insurance companies. And you saw some of the safety. Obviously, the safety comes into play with more favorable premiums. The police, obviously, they were shorthanded. The chief has come in. He's pretty much filled all the positions. That favorability will be gone. We did have offsets for overtime and all that stuff. Rec and Parks, I have to point out there. Now, Rec and Parks is mostly expense. The expense management up there and many other things really come into play. So compliments to that leader there. Linda is also a part of that now, as well as the entire team. Public Works, 72,000 unfavorable. Aquatics coming along nicely. Racket sports, basically whatever. It's pretty much on track. And then the yacht club, well, we've made changes to the yacht club, and let's see how that works out going forward. But, you know, the yacht club is moving well. Beach parking, don't know what else to say except make money there. All right, the rest all nets out. Turn the page, positive 71,000. All right, let's talk year to date. That's the number of the corner. Hopefully that's the number I come forward from your team, from the board and everything come August for the annual meeting, $1 million favorable. I think that's around the fifth year in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4. It is fifth year in a row that we've been positive $1 million on an increased budget, on an assessment that has come down. I've looked 2013, the assessment was 873. It's 875. What is that? 11, 12 years later, in addition to everything else everybody's done this association. So we're proud of that number. You can see the revenue is favorable, about 500,000, and the expense is favorable. So a lot of good work there on top of a budget that was increased. All right, so that's the detail. You know, when you talk about public works and the favorability, I think general maintenance, there was an offset in there too, but we got everything done, everything that we wanted to do. Obviously, we did have some snow, but you know, we do budget for more money for snow as well as other things. We have had success with outside contracts. A lot of our work now for the ditches, drainage is all outside. And we've been pretty good with the prices we have received. Golf ops, 244, and maintenance, let's not, I'm sorry, Justin. And then Justin, his department also, where they're doing more, and he's keeping his expenses in line. I could credit everybody. I don't want to miss somebody. The police, the chief, what he's done there in his team. You got the lieutenants, the Aquatic 70, she's done a great job down there. But again, you see pretty much everybody coming in favorable. And again, on a budget that's always built higher and a lower assessment. Yacht Club, well, we'll move forward on that. Turn the page.
Excuse me, John, we have a question, Elaine.
Really don't have a question. I guess I just wanted to address this because I know we get some folks who, when they see the favorabilities every month, wonder, well, why are we having this surplus that we're not lowering assessments? And I think what folks are not really understanding is that those favorabilities go into what we're doing in the future, in the near future. For instance, last year it was $97,000, or that there was new stuff that was coming on.
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't understand on that.
Next year it'll be the same thing. So this money is helping to keep the assessments down. We're not raising them to cover all of the new expenses that we're going to be doing because we have this favorability, that the teams are really working very, very hard to make sure that, every dollar they spend is needed. I just wanted to kind of point that out because some folks are wondering, well, why aren't we just keep lowering that assessment? We're doing a lot of things with, the money and the favorability from the teams that are working very hard to keep their budgets down.
Right. So first of all, thank you, Elaine. So let me just put in perspective again. What I'm asking for, first of all, is that we stay the course. Let's get that DMA study done in August, September. Let's see the final cost of the firehouse. Let's keep in mind that firehouse, and nobody, not pointing at anybody, or the last 30, 50 years, we really didn't fund that firehouse in the replacement reserve. So we're talking about doing that to a certain degree. What Elaine was saying about the 97, in prior updates, I've said, when you look at the increase for safety, it probably came out to about $90, that if we didn't have the offsets, our assessment would have went up by that, right? The favorability in the retained earnings, well, let me get through the DMA study and let's see where we are on that. But the most important thing, and what Elaine talked about was, and what she's saying is, and I've been saying is, that assessment, we are doing what these people are saying. We're putting back that favorability each year, and we highlight this during the budget process and even in the updates. We're putting in there, like, added this favorability the next year, at least $900,000 to stay at the 850, 875. So we are doing all that, but if you look at anything in a point in time, obviously some people are going to translate it differently. Thank you, Elaine. All right, the reserves. So we just talked a lot about reserves. So this will be, I don't know if he changed it there. I think the roads, the bill for the roads, it's like 130,000. We're working on some roads right now. So that number probably is going to go down 100,000. I don't think he was able to reflect it yet. So there's your balances. I'm close on the general replacement. I've been talking about 4.8 to 5 million for the year. We're going to come in somewhere about 4.7. When you look in there though, you see our contributions and everything, and we spent 2.9 million. So again, we're updating all our buildings, everything, the amenities, we are investing in it. Right, the bulkheads, the drainage is another thing. We put several $100,000 a year go into that. I'm talking about pipes. So we're at 6.2. Again, let's work through the August, September review from DMA. And then obviously, this will be reflected one way or the other, but we're planning for that. Turn the page. Oh, this one. All right. So the public safety. So this is still in there, and which is fine. So it shows you pretty much what I was talking about. And even before 1819 on the left there, if you go back to 2013, which I highlighted today at 873, the last time we were lower, not counting last year on the assessment, it was probably around 22%. We're going to be 42 to 44% at least. Okay, but we're covering it. We're covering it and lowering the assessment. And it's the right thing for safety. All right, so some of the ideas, and this again ties back to what Elaine was pointing out. We tried to break out here that detail that I'm talking about, that extra $90 that would have been on the assessment for safety and how we've covered that since the assessment has gone down. That's where all your favorability is going. All right, Treasurer's report, Monica.
The flash estimate for the month of April, as of the 30th, the association had approximately 17.7 million in cash. Cash decreased 1 million from the same time period last year. Cash increased 3.4 million from March of 2025. We have 8.8 million invested in CDARS. We recognize 48,000 in interest income for the month. And the remaining $8.9 million is in insured sweep accounts, treasury bills, money market, and other operating accounts diversified between 2 local banks.
Thank you, Monica. We're going to move. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, John.
I just wanted to kind of circle back and thank John and his team for repeating multiple times the DMA reserve study, because it's going to be absolutely important to us. As John's indicated, it's we believe we're on the right track, but I've been on the bad side of reserve studies in the past. So it's important, and I appreciate you stay focused on that, because it's going to be extremely important to our future. So thank you.
Any other comments? Thank you, John. We're going to move forward towards public comments. Any members wishing to make a public comment, come up to the podium, state your name, and you've got 5 minutes. Come on up, sir.
Good morning. Steve Ransville, 128 Boston Drive.
Good morning, Steve.
Good morning. I'm also your elections committee chair. I just wanted to address the board in a formal way, pardon me, to point out that we need to have essential coordination amongst yourselves and the election committee in terms of the referendum, getting it printed and packaged so that we can do it in one package with the election, which incurs cost savings for us. And that's always been our plan, but just encourage you to keep us in the loop, and we'll keep you in the loop and make sure we do it efficiently. The other thing I wanted to mention is for the community, pardon me again. This year, because we had to extend the deadline for achieving the appropriate number of candidates, that has set a delay in our normal process of communicating and getting the information to our printer and all. As a result, I anticipate that there's going to be very little time for folks who are not eligible right now to get themselves eligible. That cushion is when we could close out the candidate pool early. So for the community, you're eligible if your dues are paid and there are no CPI violations. That's kind of the short story. We can only send ballots to the information we have on record at the admin office. So if you're a part-timer and your address on record is your home, but you're staying at your beach house, you won't get a ballot at the beach house. So It's very important that everyone update both their mailing address and their email address so that we can get you a ballot and enfranchise everybody possible. But it all starts with you. We can only mail where we have the information. The last thing I'd like to address is there's been some public comment about a lack of transparency on behalf of my committee, and I'd like to address that forthrightly. There were a couple of meetings earlier in the year where we had some logistics problems with our meeting location, and meetings were not held. So to those who say we didn't post transparent minutes and agendas, not true. Those meetings simply weren't held. You can't post meeting minutes of a meeting that doesn't happen. So with that, I just want to close my comments and thank the board for working so closely with us and ensure the residents that our only focus is running a free and fair election so that everybody can feel that. But negative misinformation doesn't help our effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And just to reiterate one thing that Steve said, make sure that the administration building has your current email address and mailing address. Anybody else have any public comments? Please come up to the podium, state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Morning. My name is Jerry Luders. I live at 109 Bramblewood Drive.
Morning, Jerry.
So I haven't really been involved in this stuff, but I retired here in 2018, and I've done 2 projects, that required permits, that they told me required permits. I followed all that stuff. And there's one project that I'm remaining to do is to put a little fence up behind the house for the dog to run. So I'm again following your permits. Well, things have changed since I've done the other permits, and other things that may have been in regulations that were required, I was never required to do before, but I am now. And one of those things is, according to Mr. Josh there, is a site survey when I complete the project. And he calling it a site survey. But when he explains what he wants on that site survey, it's not a site survey. It's a site plan. Okay, so there's a difference. And so I went out and I went to a couple surveyors and told them what this guy wanted. And, I got an estimate back from the first guy, $2,600 for what he wants. And I'm putting up a 4-foot wooden picket fence that I'm doing the work on myself. It's only going to cost me $1,200. So am I going to pay $2,600 for a $1,200 project? No. So until something happens, I'm not going to do any more improvements on my property because this is ridiculous. And I know there's other people in the same boat. I don't know whether they've spoken or not, but people are paying kind of ridiculous amounts of money because they're requiring a site plan, even though they're calling it a site survey. They're different, and they need to discuss it with the surveyors.
Okay, thank you, sir. Linda, do you have anything that you might want to add or
Yeah, this was a requirement in the Architecture Review Committee guidelines as of last year that any project requires an as-built survey once the job is completed. We've had.
Is it a site survey or a plot
It's
plan?
called
What
an
is it?
as-built survey.
An as-built survey?
It shows the measurements from the side, property lines. If you get a boundary survey, it's not going to show that. So we have to have the measurements of the house and all the other.
So I can have Mr. Luders contact you directly to get exactly what he needs?
Yeah, it's what he stated was pretty much what it's called. It's a boundary as-built survey, yes. It's stamp.
Yeah, you still got some time left. Come on back up. Yeah, come up to the podium so we can record you. I just want to make sure we dot i's and cross t's
Usually,
here.
I just live my life by myself.
That's all right.
But is it a site survey on what I'm currently putting in on that permit? Or is it a site survey on things that were permitted and approved before?
When you get the fence approved, they are requiring an as-built survey after the fence is installed. So it'll show everything on the property.
And that's where it's going to be $2,600. It's not a survey, it's a site plan. And that's my distinction.
Okay.
It's a verbiage thing and it's not what they're.
I just wanted to make sure that whatever was clear so you knew exactly.
Right, so I'm just not going to do it.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else that wants to come up and have a public comment? You're limited to 5 minutes, your name and address.
Hi, how you guys doing?
Doing good.
My name is Brett Murphy. I live at 83 Bramblewood Drive. So we got some Bramblewood people here, which is great. How you doing? So look, this is more of a fact-finding thing for me. So thank you guys for, like teaching me what the Ocean Pines administration does. I guess from my angle, I've owned a lot of businesses, sat on a lot of boards. I was in San Diego for years, came out here, and I wanted to see where the money was going, right? Because I love to see 17.7 million in assets. That's fantastic. So I just wanted to see where the money was going. The other thing is too, is I'm glad you guys fixed the irrigation. So like I said, this is more of a comment and introduction of who I am. I'm a member of the golf course, and I almost snapped an ankle on one of those things. So thank you for fixing that. My neighbor did get a violation, and I was shocked by it. That was part of the reason why I wanted to take a look at this, because I was like, well, are we wasting our money on sending out violations? Because his property is immaculate. Mine, I have a 2-year-old to chase around, so sometimes I get a little bit lax. I apologize. I do the best I can. But I was just curious about that. You guys did a great job explaining it. I'm glad his violation was dropped. I know in those situations too, a lot of the times it's the lawyers that win. It's, we're spending money where we shouldn't, right? And that's kind of what I wanted to see today, is where are we spending the money? Because I think we do I think we have a wonderful community. As a matter of fact, I chose this over San Diego. Like, think about that, guys, right? So it's a great place to raise a child. Thank you. Yeah. So I'll be around. I've got, like I said, I was the president of the La Jolla Village Merchants Association in San Diego. I was on the PDO, Planning District Ordinance Committee. So I've done a lot of things. I just got roped into the Salisbury Zoo Board, so I'm going to do that for a little bit out here. I'm looking to put businesses in locally, so you'll see me around. But ultimately, I wanted to kind of see, because I felt really bad for my neighbor, because, like I said, his place is immaculate. So thank you for kind of letting us know what was going on with that situation. So nice to meet you guys.
Thank you, Brett. Just one comment to you, Brett, and your immaculately kept neighbor's house. If you get a CPI violation or you don't know, call the administration building. Linda is more than willing to work with you to work through whatever issue that is. Come back up. You still got time.
My only fear with that is, like, I think you should be really sure before you send it out, because I guess that costs money too, right? And it costs time. So it's opportunity cost for people to do other things. And there's a little, look, he was a little stressed out by it. He's never had a violation, and like I said, like it's fantastic house. So I guess it was, in my mind, I get what you're saying, but it was more of like hey, how do we just avoid this cost avoidance versus,
Okay, thank you. Elaine, you had a comment.
I'm not sure if the violation was for leaves, because I know that kind of blew up with a lot of folks. And because of our drainage system, our operations team, knowing that we were going to have all of these storms coming up this winter, they decided to be proactive, because if there are a lot of leaves in the drains, that we're going to have a lot of flooding. And so in order to avoid that, there was a real push on getting leaves out. People who typically have meticulous lawns and homes, I think felt a little insulted, because they do care about their properties. It wasn't anything of that nature. It was just the fact that our CPI folks were expected to go out, try to get as many people as you can to clean up their drainage, because we're expecting these. So it really wasn't anything personal. We know an awful lot of you take great pride with your properties, but because we wanted to mitigate the flooding that was going to happen. That was the reason for it. But as Stuart said, if you're not here in town or you have some other issue, please call Linda and let her know. We try to be very reasonable about it. So it's really a balance. When you have 8,500 homes and your water, it all depends on being able to flow through those. And there were a lot of leaves this wind. There was a lot of wind, a lot of stuff coming down and people not in town. So
I'm sorry,
Not sure
this
if
is
that
not a
was-
conversation. We're going to move forward.
No, I get it. I just want to say, I didn't want it to end on a sour note. So I do think you guys are doing a good job. I see what you're doing, and I didn't want it to end. It wasn't,
That's fine.
it wasn't, thank you.
Thank you, Brett. Anybody else have any public comments? Please come up to the podium. You have 5 minutes. Immaculate Lawn, you're up.
My name's James Tyndall, 81 Bramblewood Drive. Since it was brought up, I mean, yes, we're next to each other. I, with Linda Martin, called CPI about a violation. I just built a garage on my home to try to improve the home and had moved some brush and some leaves to the back behind my fence next to the Beecham Road. And, evidently I was informed that Worcester County, decided that I was dumping leaves into the ditch because they were heavy there on my ditch line. And so I did my due diligence. I cleaned it all up. The only issue I'd had, and I spoke to Linda directly about, is I received a violation. I understood the violation. It was a temporary thing. I cleaned it up because that's what I had to do. But I got a second violation, and on the second violation, it said nothing on it. It just said, second violation, get it done or I go to court. And I called Linda and I asked about that. I said, why? I cleaned it up. Why am I getting a second violation? She said, well, Worcester County basically said that, like I said, I'm dumping leaves on the side and that it hadn't been cleaned up. So I cleaned that up. We talked, I got it resolved, it was dropped, and I was happy. CPI was happy, and I moved on. But anyway, I just want to clear that up just so, Brett, and also Linda did say that one of the suggestions I had made, and I hope is, if we're going to have like these violations, try to be, especially if we get a second one, try to be specific for what I am still violating so that I know what I need to clear up. And she addressed that. So like I said, I'm happy with the result. CPI obviously dropped it, so they're happy. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Anybody else have any public comments? Please come up to the podium, state your name, and you have 5 minutes.
Did he take his whole 5 minutes?
You can't have any of his time.
My name is Carolyn Drizga. I live at 15 Admiral Avenue, and I moved here from Pennsylvania, Bucks County, Pennsylvania, about 14 years ago. I love it. It's the best community. It's the most generous community. And within 4 months of moving here, I joined the Kiwanis Club, and I was with the Kiwanis Club for 13 years. And then I had enough. I thought I needed to move on. And this organization, Twilight Wish Foundation, found me. And I decided, all right, this sounds really good, because what it allows me to do is to help a generation of people called our seniors, who are, some of them are forgotten. They're in nursing homes, they're shutaways. We have a percentage of people within Ocean Pines who receive Meals on Wheels. I was then elected or asked by Chip Bertino to sit on the board for the Commission of Aging. And as a result of that partnership with Commission on Aging, to then take the rest of my years as a volunteer to address the seniors was a perfect fit. So what we do for the Twilight Wish Foundation, it's a 501c3. It's headquartered in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. And we just grant wishes to seniors who are forgotten. Thus far, I have 6 wishes on the horizon right now that need to be fulfilled. Some are residents of Ocean Pines. Most are residents of Worcester County. But it's just been a magical, I'm not tall enough. Thank you. There we go. It's been a magical journey. And the first people that we granted wishes to were clients at the Worcester County Developmental Center. And there are 2 gentlemen there who wanted to sit in a hot rod. And that doesn't sound like anything. It's not curing cancer or any of the things that are really facing our nation as challenges. But it put a smile, not on these 2 gentlemen's faces, but on the entire Worcester County Developmental Center, because they were able to witness and participate in the wish granting. So I contacted the president of the Ocean City Cruisers, told him about I had two gentlemen that never sat in a hot rod, because when you go to the cruiser shows, you don't touch, you look, you don't touch anything. And heaven forbid you don't sit in anything. Well, the president of the Ocean City Cruiser said, no problem. I just happen to have a 1929 Ford sedan and a 1929 Ford Roadster. Which one do you want? And so he drove to the Worcester County Development Center. The entire clientele came out, took pictures, and then he gave them a ride on Langmaid Road out to 113, and he let it out. And it was amazing, absolutely amazing. So just doing things like that, that's what the Twilight Wish Foundation does. So they've granted about 6,500 wishes since 2003. This is the only chapter this side of the bridge. And what I do is I facilitate. The other wish that we granted was to a 98-year-old Korean War veteran. And he had been bedridden for about 2-3 years, never been out of the house. And when I met him, it was with a ride-along with Meals on Wheels. I said, John, what do you want to do? What haven't you been able to do? He looked at me, he said, honey, I want to go out to dinner. I said, really? He said, yeah. I said, where? He said, I'd like to go to the Harbor Side Watch Restaurant. And it happened to be White Marlin Open. He was one of the first participants in the White Marlin Open tournament some years ago. His name is John Dyer. I contacted the Harrison Group. They comped him and his entire family of 12 people for dinner at that restaurant. He had a beautiful window side of the boats coming in from the tournament. That man and his entire family had smiles on their face, and that's what Twilight Wish does. I currently have some people that we're trying to send to the Orioles ball game, and I think we have that nailed. Another gentleman who's 72 years old, I think they said, he had a tragic story. His wife was killed by their son, and then he was left to raise the other 2 children. And he has survived that, and then the children have grown up to be wonderful people. What do you want to do, Andy? I'd love to go fishing. So we're working with the Anglers Club to see if we can't arrange for him to go fishing. And
Carolyn, I'm sorry to interrupt. That's 5 minutes. Can you do me a favor? How does anybody get in touch with you, if you can tell everybody?
I'll give you a phone number, and I'll have a handout. 215-519-3670. Boy, that went by fast.
What were the last 4 digits?
3670.
Thank you very much. I
Thank you.
appreciate you coming up.
Thank you.
Are there any more public comments? If there are, please come up to the podium. You have 5 minutes. Name and address. Seeing no more public comments, I'm going to close the floor to public comments. We're going to move forward towards capital requests. John?
Okay, thank you, Stuart. So the first capital request, I believe we have 2. Right, so the first one would be the irrigation system. Justin, and I have to say this, Justin, every time there's a major capital request for the golf course, he's here to support me. So Justin will do the request for the capital on my behalf.
Yeah, for golf capital, we're requesting the number of 810,500 for phase 2 of the irrigation system renovation.
Okay, there's a ask on the floor requesting authorization to go forward with the staff recommendation of $810,500 for irrigation services. Do I have a second? Discussion. Yes, Rick.
Thanks, Stuart. I just want to make a general comment and to kind of go back what our general manager has mentioned also with Justin. We have and are putting a huge investment in our golf course, millions, to a golf course that is definitely a destination golf course here. And I see a lot of the hard work that Justin and his team Public Works, all the folks that are working in golf maintenance have done and are continuing to do with our wonderful golf course. Now, I'm not an avid golfer. I do try to do a few rounds of golf when I can. But one of the things that I will say that is a little bit disappointing that I see is people playing on our golf courses, playing soccer on our greens, having dogs out on the greens playing catch, dogs using our golf course as a restroom. And we're spending millions of dollars on this, and they're not supposed to be out on the golf course with this. And we have those other amenities for that. We have dog parks for your dogs. They don't need to be running around on the green. And I have a dog. I take her to the dog park. I don't have her running around on our greens that we spend a ton of money on keeping these things up. Or kids playing soccer. We have soccer fields here in Ocean Pines, and they're playing out on our greens, or playing kickball, or playing retriever with their dogs. So I just want the community to be aware that this is a huge investment that we are presenting forward, and we really need to ensure that we treat this amenity as it should. And they're not supposed to be on the golf course because we have these other amenities that they can utilize for sports or the recreation for their dogs. So I just wanted to bring that to the attention to the association that our association has those amenities and not to be utilizing the golf course for the entertainment of their children or their pets. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Any other discussion? One thing I wanted to mention, this irrigation system for this phase 2 of our golf irrigation, initially the budget amount was $900,000 and the ask here is $810,500. So that's a credit to this team to get the best price from the request for proposals that were sent out to cover this part of the project. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor of moving forward with staff recommendation of $810,500 for irrigation services, signify by saying aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Motion passes.
Thank you, Board.
We're moving forward to the next capital request of Public Works. Linda?
No, I got it.
Or-
This is on the racket sports, Stuart.
Okay.
So requesting authorization to go forward with staff recommendation of $33,395 from American Tennis Courts Corp. For repair of crack repairs, tennis courts, and pickleball courts.
Okay, there's a motion. I'm going to introduce a motion on the floor to go forward for repair of cracks and repair of the tennis court and the pickleball courts with the staff recommendation of American Tennis Corp. Incorporated for $33,395. Is there a second? Any discussion? Yes, Stephen.
John, couple of questions. On the cover sheet that we received, the American Tennis Courts Corp. Price is $33,395. The budget amount above that says $32,000. Are we getting a discount?
Right, I'm sorry, it's $1,300 more.
Okay. And just to follow up if I can.
Yeah.
In the proposal that we got, there were 3
Yes.
alternates.
Yes,
I'm correct that we've chosen alternate 2, is that correct?
I believe it. Linda's checking as we speak. I believe it is number 2, yes. It says the amount right there.
One more question. if
Yeah,
I
sure.
can. My recollection is the budget issues that came up, not this year before last. There was a lot of discussion about the pickleball courts in particular and the older ones being put in, for lack of a better term, on a layer of sand. Are these the same courts that are trying to be repaired now? And in fairness, my recollection again was that we thought we had fixed them for a couple of years, and now it seems to be almost like an annual charge. Is this what we're looking at? The same courts?
Yes, these are the same courts. The new courts that we put in 3 years ago, and we are monitoring them. There aren't any cracks, and if there's a little hairline crack near a bar or something, we don't consider that. The new courts, the money, the effort, the research that we put in for the sub-base for those, I believe will show us something over time. The other courts, from what I was told, obviously I wasn't here, they did not do that. So the answer to your question is yes, these are the old courts. We have done this at a big expense. The demand is to get them done, and I get it. We do. It doesn't last as long as I would hope. Let's see what happens with this one. But we are committed to those, to keep those courts the best we can. So, but you're right. These are the old courts. Seems to be standard that we constantly go back on these cracks. Something that would probably have to be addressed down the road. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. No, good question.
Any other discussion? Seeing no further discussion, I call all in favor of approving $33,395 for Public Works to repair cracks in the tennis court 9 and 10, pickleball courts 1 through 8, and spot coating. Do I all in favor? Anybody? No dissension? Okay, motion passes. The spend is approved. No abstentions. We're going to move forward towards CPI violations. Linda?
Okay, all these have received the first and second notice. No hearing was requested and the violation continues. So I'm going to break them up with the ones with recommendation to send to legal, and then the other ones will be for the contractor to resolve. None of them are located on Bramblewood Drive, so that's a surprise. CPI violations to go to legal: 26 Moby Dick Drive, 37 Liberty Street, 16 Footbridge Trail, 91 Nottingham Lane, 8 Willow Way, 1225 Ocean Parkway, and 108 Parkside Circle.
A question just.
Hold on for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do I have a second to move to legal for the purpose of suspending amenity rights for the CPI violations? Linda, discussion? Elaine?
I just have a question on one property, because I'm not quite sure what the violation is. It's 16 Footbridge.
You mean the trash can?
Yeah, I mean, is it the trash cans being in their gutters? I mean, in the thing. Yeah, or is it because they're not cleaning up their ditch so that the water is accumulating?
Also this
I
one.
wasn't quite sure what.
16 Footbridge Trail, there's mold on the house, there's mold on the shed, and then it's actually the trash can as well, because the trash cans in the middle of the yard has to be screened. So it's a trifecta on
But
one.
this is the one.
Then the
that's
16
not
Footbridge
screened.
Trail, yeah, then the other one is 16 Footbridge Trail. They have another trash can in the water, yes. So, yeah.
Okay, and they have not picked those.
No, they're still
Okay.
there floating in the ditch, yes.
I was hoping that they actually had remediated that already. Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor of sending the CPI violations that Linda had read to legal and suspending amenity rights, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Motion carries.
Okay, then the next few are for the contractor to resolve. 39 Falcon Bridge Road, 41 Tail to Fox Drive, 11 Brandywine Drive, and 16 Footbridge Trail.
Okay, do I have a second for approval to have a contractor enter the properties that Linda had mentioned for resolving their violations? Do I have a second? Discussion? See no discussion, I call in question. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed or abstentions? The motion carries. Yeah, John.
Wanted to thank Linda and the team for cleanup. I was reviewing the list of violations, and there's a significant amount of them that have been cleared up in the last couple, 4 to 6 weeks, let's call it, a lot of leaf violations. Want to thank you guys for that. I know that list was getting, kind of voluminous. But it looks really good, and there's been tremendous amount of improvement. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, John. We're going to move on to our next order of business. There is no unfinished business. We're going to move forward to new business, certificates for good neighbors. Elaine? Oh, okay. Elaine is the liaison for that Good Neighbor Award. And if you're here today, just come to If you're here today, please come forward. Robert Griffith, Kim Ritter, Chris Rush, Joe Wilkinson, and Esther Diller. Come forward. Does. Esther, you were nominated by Joe Reynolds. For the last 4 years, Esther, through her Facebook group Get Involved, has run a number of projects to help those in our community who are in need. Those include food drives, toy drives, coat drives, senior helping hands, and Operation Flip Flop to help children go to camp in the summer. A number of these projects were done in cooperation with Worcester Gold. Diller's many activities certainly qualify her as a good neighbor doing good works in our community. Everybody that I mentioned before, Robert Griffith was nominated by Annette Jones-Mann. The world is a better place when you have good neighbors. I'm an elderly single female who would like to thank Robert for voluntarily clearing my walkway and driveway for each snowstorm we've had this winter. Robert's invaluable acts of kindness had a tremendous impact on me and brought instant smiles to my face. His thoughtfulness reminded me of what a great community we have. I nominate Robert. He's a great neighbor. Kim Ritter was nominated by Mandy Brady, and she nominated Kim for being a good neighbor because we don't have family close by. She's like an adopted mother or grandmother for our kids. She checks on us when we're sick, collects packages, watches our house when we're away. She helps shovel snow and shares meals. She's an awesome neighbor that I put her as my kid's backup emergency contact because we know we can always count on her. She quilted blankets for each of my kids with unique and special designs just for them. Chris Rush was also nominated by Mandy Brady. She would like to nominate Chris for being a good neighbor because during the last few months, received several inches of snow each time Chris would come and clear our driveway in the morning to ensure that her husband could safely report to work. If needed, respond to emergency calls as a first responder. Very appreciative of his actions. This is only one small act of kindness that she displays. Joe Wilkinson, nominated by Kelsey Moran. We are new to Ocean Pines, and Joe came over, introduced himself, and answered a lot of our questions. He gave us his phone number and told us to text us anytime he's part of the firehouse and invite us to join. He also invited us to community events. I know he helps a lot of other neighbors who are older with their yard work. He always speaks and helps so much get caught up with neighbor happenings and where to find information. His wife, Vicky, is wonderful also. Found our mail key that we lost. And after she took time to find the right owner, both of them are very active in the community. And Joe's right. Join the firehouse. They need more people. Thank you, Esther. We're going to move on. The first reading of Resolution B04, agenda developed for board meetings. Stephen?
Thank you, Stuart. The motion is to review and amend if necessary Resolution B04, agenda development for board meetings. Do I need a second for this or?
That's the first reading.
It's just the first reading, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we need a second, just read
Okay,
it.
fine, thank you. The purpose and effect is for the Board of Directors to consider, excuse me, Resolution B04, agenda development for board meetings. The background is the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee has reviewed Resolution B04, consistent with the timely review of Ocean Pines resolutions that require board review. The Bylaws and Resolutions Committee is forwarding this resolution to the board for any action the board deems appropriate. Discussion, the B04 resolution establishes the timeframe, format, and sequence for items to be considered during board meetings, all of which is consistent with Robert's Rules of Order. The provisions of B04 have been followed by the Ocean Pines boards for a number of years and seems to serve the needs of the board and the residents quite well.
We'll move forward with a second reading next meeting, Steve. First reading of review of Resolution B07 petition, Steve.
Thank you. The motion is to review and amend, if necessary, Resolution B07 dealing with petitions, purpose and effect for the Board of Directors to consider Resolution B07 petitions. Background, the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee has reviewed Resolution B07 consistent with the timely review of Ocean Pines resolutions that require board review. The Bylaws and Resolutions Committee is forwarding this resolution to the board for any action the board deems appropriate. Discussion, Resolution B07 establishes the format and procedures for the submission of petitions for consideration by the Ocean Pines Board of Directors. The Bylaws and Resolutions Committee is not recommending any changes to B07.
Okay, I've been informed by our parliamentarian, we have to have a second for each of these readings. So I have a second.
So
I
I'll
don't?
go back to.
Okay, Doug.
You open it as a first reading, and then you have to have discussion in case there's anything that needs to be discussed amongst the board regarding the first reading. You don't just automatically move to a second reading in the subsequent meeting. So open the floor for discussion. Once it's been discussed, you can close discussion, and then you can have the secretary record that there has been a first reading presented at this meeting for subsequent decision as a second reading at a future meeting. Okay, so you can't just automatically close it and not have any discussion. You do have to open the floor for discussion.
Okay. Thank you for your point of parliamentary order. Is there any discussion on this Resolution B07 review? No discussion. We're going to move to a second reading next meeting. Have the secretary record the first reading of motion B07.
Should we return to B04 for the same?
Yeah, we'll return to B04. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, I close the floor. I'll have the secretary record that will move to a second reading next meeting. We're going to move forward with reading of review of resolution C09. Steve.
Thank you, Stuart. Motion is to review and amend, if necessary, Resolution C09, Executive Advisory Council. Purpose and effect is for the Board of Directors to consider Resolution C09, Executive Advisory Council. The background, but the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee has reviewed Resolution C09 consistent with the timely review of the Ocean Pines resolutions that require board review. The Bylaws and Resolutions Committee is forwarding this resolution to the board for any action the board deems appropriate. Discussion. Resolution C09 establishes the link for the discussion of committee activities between the board and the chairs of the Ocean Pines committees. The resolution establishes the authority, functions, and membership of the Executive Advisory Council, as well as addressing frequency of meetings, minutes, and reports. The Bylaws and Resolutions Committee is not recommending any changes to C09.
Is there any discussion on the reading of resolution C09? See no discussion. I'm going to have the secretary record the first reading, and we'll have the second reading of resolution C09 next month. First reading of review of resolution M05, animal control. Steve.
Thank you, Stuart. The motion is to review and amend, if necessary, Resolution M05, Animal Control. Purpose and effect is for the Board of Directors to consider Resolution M05, Animal Control. Background, the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee has reviewed Resolution M05 consistent with the timely review of Ocean Pines resolutions that require board review. The Bylaws and Resolutions Committee is forwarding this resolution to the board for any action the board deems appropriate. Discussion. Resolution M05 establishes the policy fees related to the custody of animals by the Ocean Pines Police Department. Additionally, this resolution follows the appropriate state law and county ordinances. The Bylaws and Resolutions Committee is not recommending any changes to M05.
Is there any discussion concerning Resolution M05 Animal Control? Seeing no discussion, I'll direct our Secretary, John, to note that the first reading was done and to, we'll have a second reading next meeting. Moving forward, motion,
I have a motion.
go ahead. I'm sorry,
Um,
Stephen.
The motion is that the board authorize the liaison of the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee to advise the committee that at this time, it has no proposed changes to board resolutions B04, B07, C09, and M05, and does not presently seek any action by the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee as to those board resolutions.
So this was a motion, so it has to be seconded.
Yes.
Is there a second? Any discussion?
Just to continue, if I may, Stuart.
Go ahead.
The purpose and effect of this motion is that Resolution B01, Paragraph 4, Subparagraph C, charges the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee with the responsibility to establish a schedule of due dates for review by assigned committees or the board of the resolution purpose. Background: for several years, the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee has used a governance tracking document to track and maintain the review of resolutions. This motion would allow the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee to update the governance tracking document as it applies to the reference resolutions. And if I may, if this motion were to pass, we would not have a second reading of the 4 identified resolutions.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor of the motion to authorize the liaison to Bylaws and Resolutions Committee to advise the committee that no proposed changes for B04, B07, C09, and M05. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Motion carries. First reading of revision to Resolution M08, Steve.
Thank you, Stuart. The motion is to amend the current resolution M08 dealing with association manuals. Purpose and effect: proposed resolution would amend the current resolution concerning association manuals. Background: the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee, after reviewing Resolution M08, forwarded to the board recommended changes regarding association manuals, specifically who should have responsibility for maintaining as well as updating or amending the manuals. A list of the manuals is attached to this resolution. In reviewing this resolution, the committee suggests to the board that all but the financial management policy manual are operational in use and nature, and therefore it is the responsibility of the general manager to maintain and update or amend all of the other manuals. Discussion. The proposed resolution addresses both where the responsibility lies for maintaining as well as updating or amending the various manuals. It provides for a form to use for that purpose. See attachment B. It also assumes that the general manager may review the manuals on a staggered biannual basis, and the general manager's annual report to the board would not encompass all of these listed manuals. The board would be required to review the financial management policy manual annually. And I note, just to inform the board, I believe council has provided some additional changes which we can address at the second reading.
Thank you, Steve. Any discussion? I will direct the secretary to record the first reading of Resolution M08 Association Manuals to be read at the second reading on our next meeting. Moving ahead, motion to approve revisions to F01 investment guidelines. Monica?
Thank you, Stuart. The motion is to approve the changes to F01. Purpose and effect: resolution F01 was reformatted with the proper section numbering. The background: the sections of F01 were not formatted correctly with the proper numbering sequence.
I have a motion. Is there a second? Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor of the motion to approve resolution to F01 investment guidelines signify by saying aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Motion carries. Motion to approve revisions to resolution F02, the annual budget development and monitoring. Monica?
Right, thank you. This motion is to approve the changes to F02. Excuse me. Resolution F02 was revised to provide policy and procedures for development of the association budget and monitoring of the financial results. The background, the finance department and the general manager endorsed the removal, requiring a meeting be held each September to discuss the overall budget guidelines and goals. In addition, several grammatical changes were made.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? See no discussion. All in favor of the motion to approve revision to motion resolution F02, the annual budget and development monitoring, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? That motion approved. That passes. Motion to approve revisions to resolution F03, financial reserve accounts. Monica?
Thank you. Motion is to approve the changes to F03. The purpose and effect, Resolution F03 provides for the establishment of various reserve accounts necessary to ensure that the association provides funding to maintain or replace as necessary capital assessments and to provide for future capital assessments that have been approved in the association's multi-year plans. The background, the finance team, along with the general manager, confirmed the replacement expenditures, excluding bulkheads, are purchases of replacement capital items, including buildings, articles of furniture, vehicles, and equipment having a useful life of over 2 years and an acquisition cost of at least $2,000. Also included are groups of lesser unit costs, but where the number of items results in a substantial total investment of at least $2,000. Additionally, the addition of the word account was added to clarify F03 refers to the reserve accounts. In Section 5, an additional line was added to ensure the association is in compliance with the Homeowners Act, Section 11B 112.3.
Do I have a second on the motion to approve the revisions to resolution F03, the financial reserve accounts? All in favor, discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions, motion carries. Motion to approve and authorize the transfer of funds, John?
Thank you, Stuart. So I will be submitting to the board for replacement of the Southside Fire Station for the board to prepare a motion. First, before I do that, I just want to say it was a great work group, which was totally strongly represented by Joe Enstey, Joey Widgeon, Linda Martin, Edgar Wells, and of course, Frank Brown. I just want to point that. So I am submitting this on behalf of that work group, and I'm pretty proud to do that today.
Point of order.
Yes,
My
Point of order?
understanding is the motion to approve and authorize the transfer had been withdrawn.
oh, that's,
No, that's not there. That's out. That's out.
okay,
That's what, the $1 million? That's out, Steve.
okay, it was actually on the,
Sorry
Not
about
what,
that.
that's not what.
that's not what I read. I'm
Oh,
going
I'm
to
sorry.
withdraw that
Okay.
statement. There is no motion to
All right.
approve or transfer funds.
No. All right, good.
Thank
catch.
you, thank you for
Yeah,
keeping me
good
in mind,
catch, Steve.
Steve.
Okay. Stuart, I'm good.
Okay. Moving forward for a motion to.
No, I gotta read it.
Steps to advance a referendum
read
vote.
it.
This is for you, John.
All right,
The
thank you,
Replacement
Stuart.
of the South Side Fire
Yep.
Station.
Okay, so I am submitting for the board to have a motion to move forward with all necessary steps in accordance with OPA bylaws, including holding a public hearing to advance to a referendum vote by OPA members coinciding with this year's annual board meeting, the funding of a proposed replacement of the South Side Fire Station. Purpose and effect. The fire station, originally built in 1981, has reached its useful life, and due to deterioration, ongoing maintenance issues, and requested upgrades, is in need of replacement. OPA will be participating financially in the overall funding of the project, could possibly be up to $3.4 million, with a 10% variance in contingency. Again, that's our piece. Based on the level of OPA funding of the project under OPA bylaw section 5.13D, referendum approval for the project is required. Under bylaw section 4.08, action requiring referendum approval may be proposed by the OPA board. The purpose of this motion is for the board to approve moving forward with all steps, including without limitation, holding a public hearing associated with seeking and obtaining referendum approval of the proposed action, the OP funding of the project to replace the Southside Fire Station. Background, an existing conditions assessment report was conducted in 2020 by Mans Woodward. Several issues were noted, including size and capacity, safety concerns, outdated infrastructure, crumbling conditions, and design flaws. Recommendation at that time was for replacement of the building to address these structural and safety issues to meet not only the needs of the OPVFD, but the community as well. Cost of project to be incurred by OPA, which is to be approved by referendum, is projected at 3.4 million with a 10% contingency. Again, this is fluid because obviously we're in a certain part of the process.
Do I have a,
If I,
we have to second it and then goes to discussion, correct?
I believe we have to, I move that the board now consider the motion submitted by the general manager, which we now need a second.
I was just about to say that. I move that, motion to move forward with the necessary steps to advance to a referendum vote for the replacement of the Southside Fire Station. Do I have a second? Discussion. Elaine?
I think this was talked about earlier, but this referendum will be going out with the,
Correct. We're going out with the election.
okay, so we have time to get all of that done. That will go out with all the materials together.
John?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've spoken to the MK, so we're coordinating.
Steve?
Thank you, Stuart. John, if you can, I guess I have sort of two questions. One is, in the resolution itself makes a reference to a public hearing. Are there other additional steps that need to be taken prior to the referendum being put out for vote by the members of Ocean Pines?
No, the work group will continue, but the answer to your question is no, I don't believe so. And nothing that Bruce and I have spoken about.
Okay. Is there going to be in time for the public hearing, a draft of the referendum for review?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, we actually have it already.
And if I can ask one other question. You indicated earlier that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, it's your preference, that this be self-funded. In other words, it comes out of our reserves. In repaying the reserves, would there be a cost of interest that would be attached? Because in theory, I guess what I'm saying is,
I got
if we
it.
take the money out of reserves, we're losing interest that we would accrue at that time. So we would lose both the principal and the interest once we take it out of reserves. So my question is, are we repaying ourselves with a level of interest?
Yeah. So first of all, excellent question. I couldn't have planted it better if I did, but no, so excellent question. It's one I definitely going to address. Might as well address it now. So again, everything I talked about today, the DMA study, we need the DMA study. Once I get that, and the reason we moved it up to August, September, so I will have it, or we will have it, and we'll be able to see where we are. Once we see where we are on our reserves, it'll be better for me to answer that question. But if I was to carve out, which I think is what you're asking me to do, which I will do at a high level, if you're asking me to carve out what the effect was, if everything else was equal and we did have to pay for this, and not covering it necessarily from something else, but that is a possibility. It may happen. Not saying it will. If I look at it and I just take the 3.4 and I take that, over 10 years, simple, that's 340,000 a year divided. If you could just by 8,500, 9,800. So let's say it's $40. And then interest, if I take 4%, that's probably another $10. So if you were to carve out the fire department by itself, this would cost $50 on the assessment over 10 years. And I'm not saying that you will actually see that. And then, of course, once this is part of, and rightfully so, part of the DMA study and the reserves, the depreciation on the building is probably going to be another $10. So if I was to carve it out, it would be that. Right now, I'm recommending the general reserve, because based upon the DMA study, and if we do have a Goldilocks situation, we may not have that. piece on the assessment. Make sense? Answer your question? Everybody else make sense? No?
Makes sense.
Steve?
I guess the answer is, without the DMA study, you're not going to know for sure the answer to the question, but based upon the numbers that you identified, we would be able to recoup both the principal taken out of our reserves as well as whatever interest we may lose.
So if the DMA study comes in, and if possible, and I'm saying if possible, and it says we are fully we're well funded and we can do it, then we would come out of the reserves. If they say I'm not, or we are not where we should be, then obviously I probably would have a hit to the assessment.
Okay.
Right.
Another question, if I can.
Sure.
Resolution assumes a 10% contingency.
Right.
Again, I'm assuming that would be for unplanned overruns that will come up during the construction process. Is that a fair assumption?
So I just don't like the word overruns, but with tariffs, with everything going on, the fact that we don't have the final plans, which I thought I would have, there could be other items. There could be maybe some translation on what type of windows or something we're using. I just want to be prepared for it.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
No, but you're right.
That answers.
I hope we don't need it.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. No,
Good question.
Are there any discussion items? Anybody else have anything they want to say? Seeing no further discussion, all in favor of the motion to move forward with all necessary steps to hold a referendum, signify by saying aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Motion carries. Moving forward, appointments. We only have two this month. We're going to take them as a whole. Jennifer Compston, first term Environmental and Natural Assets, and Kevin Middleton, welcome back, first term Architectural Review. Do I have a motion do I have a second? All in favor? Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, they are appointed to their various committees. Do I have a motion to adjourn our meeting? Do I have a second? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Your meeting is adjourned.